the wild world of the diagnostic lab space, nothing is off limits. With science, compliance, sales, and marketing. Welcome to Lab Results with your host, Blake Ford. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Lab Results with Blake. I'm Blake, and today I have a very special guest. Before I do the introduction here, I want to give you guys a little bit of a frame on what today's call actually is, because it's special, it's unique, it's not common to have an employee, employer, partner, coworker type of conversation and relationship just kind of put out there for the world to see. But I got last partner episode that I did was with Nathaniel Mullins and Nate. As you guys may know, because it was just a couple episodes ago, wrapped up season 1 for us, and was a great sales rep that was bringing amazing sales knowledge to our listening audience. And I've gotten rave reviews about that particular podcast, and people actually have asked me directly through text, through DM, on YouTube, hey, do more of those. My own team said, hey, I learned a lot from that one. So I've been searching and lining up, these lab sales gladiators, guys that have been in this business since the beginning, that have gone through peaks and valleys and ups and downs and climbs and falls, and then are now sitting with a big reservoir of knowledge to share with all of you. And so today I have Nick Simoni, and Nick is the double entendre here, the triple Indy, if you will. Bonus points if you know that movie. Is Nick's coming to work with us at the Core Academy as a lead trainer, and will be placed as a chief sales officer at one of our partner labs. And while that's going down, while that transaction's occurring and the lab's getting ready and operationally everything is getting set, we're going to be able to sponge Nick's knowledge and process knowledge and sales operations knowledge for our CRM, for our sales coaching, for our training, and basically for the whole process. So, with no further ado, man, I'm pumped and amazed to be able to do this. I want to introduce you to Nick Simoni. Nick, how you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. And Blake, I got to be honest, I haven't been this excited to start a job in I don't know how long. Actually, shame on me. I can't believe I called it a job. This has been awesome. I mean, we've been kind of going at this for 2 weeks, with today being day 1. I feel like we're already 6 months into it. Huge vision, huge plans ahead. The fact that I'm following in Nate Mullins' shoes, I mean, I'm kind of flattered. I have the utmost respect for the guy. I had the privilege of working with him for almost 4 years. He's probably the definition of grind and hustle. He's been all over the country. No matter what was thrown at him, there's nothing stopping him. I mean, he only knows success and success only. So, I mean, I'm sure that podcast, I watched it last night, actually. I had to, typical Nate Mullins style, just dialed in, no ego, get it done kind of attitude. So it's pretty darn cool to be kicking this one off.
What I love about it is so look, man, full disclosure here, I haven't really prepped Nick very much for what's going to happen today. I framed out it because he's a detailed person and he's OCD, and I realize that, and I don't want to throw him off. but we, in this business, the referral of a friend, the word of a trusted mentor and associate. And so there's a common thread between Nick and I, a guy named Chris Roberts. Chris was my CEO. Chris and I worked in some of the most exciting times of my lab life, right at the beginning of COVID. Massive respect for him. And when I heard Nick's name, somebody recommended Nick to me and said, hey, have you heard of this guy? I had heard of you from Genesis. I had heard of you from Millennium. I knew about you. I didn't know that you were at Precision. But I text 3 people that I trust with my life. I would let Violet and Bruce can be raised by these 3 people if me and Jenny got hit by a train, and I would be okay knowing that they're in good hands. And Chris was one of those people. And all 3 of them were like, dude, are you kidding me? You guys might work together. And it was like, man, y'all are like matches and gasoline, get it going. And so that was super cool, man. So Chris gave you a resounding, he when he was explaining you, I felt like he was talking about me. Like I felt like a whore in church for a minute, because I was like,
Yeah, I know. I got kind of creeped out too, because here I am walking through the airport in Michigan. He's like, "Stop dead in your tracks. You got to talk to your twin." And I'm like, "If he's my twin, how do I not know him? Say your name." Wait a minute, I know that name. I talked to like 4 people. Wait, you guys don't know each other? It was
yeah.
wild, crazy how this all took place.
So now we're in the process where today is actually, you've been working with us since the day we talked, but today's your first day on the job. July 1st is when your contract started. So welcome to the Core Academy.
I mean, what better way to kick off a holiday weekend than your first day at work?
Right. Right. So
Grind doesn't
listen,
stop.
man, as we kind of go back and forth, and we're going to swap some war stories, we're going to be talking about best practices. One of the things that I hope for the audience to see here is, I need to know what's inside of Nick's head, and I need to, as a leader, help Nick hit his targets. And because of our relationship, Nick needs to know what's inside of my head. So as a leader, he can help me hit my targets, because we're in this thing together. And we're going to sit around a table in Houston, Texas in a week, and everybody's going to be live. And every person who owns a seat in the Core Academy is going to literally put their income targets, their family targets, their spiritual targets, right? And their body targets on the table. And they're going to declare the man or the woman that they're going to become in the next 90 days. And when we make decisions, we're not just making decisions about some bullshit number that the board of directors came up with of how much money we should make and a percentage of growth that we should have. I'm trying to figure out how to get my writer and one of my best friends to have his wife stay home after her pregnancy. That's a business target at the Core Academy right now. That's one of my rocks, is how do I get Philip's wife to stay home? Because she's going to deliver a baby in November. And as his lead, I got to figure that out with Philip. And it's Philip's rock, but I got to help. I want to know that about Nick Simoni, and you should want to know that about your employees. So that's what today is about, is that conversation. So we're going to talk about Nick's personal targets and goals. And this guy has given me the permission to dig in and be vulnerable with us for no other reason but to improve your life, your lab life, your real life. So that way you get the results that you want, that you earn, that you deserve. So buckle up. Here we go. First off, Nick, I want to learn from you. How do you maintain balance in your life right now? What do you do to de-stress, decompress, and to stay with an edge?
All right, let's start with the most loaded question you can ask somebody who's been in the lab space for 13 years. Balance. It's crazy, man, because it never really does stop. Especially when you get into managerial roles. Hands down, depending on the specialties you work with, it's crazy how so much of your business becomes extremely personal to you. I know people like Nathaniel Mullins. I'm going to reference him because you talked to him. You can ask Chris Roberts. Him and I, when we worked very closely together, got really big in the addiction recovery space. Something near and dear to both you and I. Those people, they don't sleep because those patients don't sleep. It doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter what shift it is. If they can't get a hold of someone, they want to make sure that they have radical clarity reviewing a result. Am I a clinical expert? Absolutely not. Have I invested everything I have in myself to know as much as I can to at least get them through until that expert's on the phone? 100%. That's why we do what we do. So when it comes to balance, I really have just started setting boundaries for myself. Full transparency, let's call it how it is. The last 8 to 10 years, it's been nothing but work, where I made some bad decisions on my part. Because when I look at my roles in my life, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a sales director, I'm CSO, and I kind of lost sight of those roles and the order that they went in.
How did it change?
Because
you're a new father, though. Your son's 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
How did it change for you after him?
That was the problem. I couldn't get out of my lane. it was dialed in. And as a newborn, I mean, they really don't do much. I mean, it seemed like it was so much mom, like mom feeds, mom nurtures, mom teaches, tummy time, the whole 9 yards. And then that one day he stands at the door, daddy, no. And it's like, you freeze. It's like you're like that little kid in high school on your first day where some big guy goes running by and you're just in shock and your books fall out of your hands.
Yeah.
It's like, what do I do now? Where do I go next?
Uh-huh.
It's like, something has to change. I mean, and you could ask anyone about me. I mean, sun up to sundown, 7 days a week. I mean, I used to do day trips to California and back just because I knew it was in the best interest of the business, best interest of the people that relied on me. Mm-hmm. I mean, every individual that's ever been on my team, they call me at 9 o'clock at night. If I can get on a flight for 5 a.m. to be at a 9 a.m. meeting, I was always there. Needed to start setting some boundaries and a little bit more structure, because when I did that, I became more effective. It was run, 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 which is fantastic. I mean, the grind is always very exciting. But when you run so hard, you're not being as effective as you possibly can at all times. So with now being a father to a 2-year-old who is actually this little human that runs around my house and not just a baby anymore, he has needs as well. My wife deserves that attention in the same capacity. So what do? You cover the whole country. You live on the East Coast, you're going to have questions from the West Coast. Mm-hmm. You have good, honest conversations with your people and say, hey, between this time and this time, that's dinner and bath. Mm-hmm. First thing in the morning, I know my East Coast people, typically no one needs anything before 7. Mm-hmm. Do I make them adjust to me? No, I adjust to them. I'm in the gym, 5:30. That's where my energy comes from. That's where my clearing of my head comes from. Whatever happened yesterday, bullshit's in the past. Clear head, ready to go, because that's what people rely on me for.
Dude, I can't have a conversation if it's not on my calendar. I am literally at that point in my life right now where I used to be able to just pick up the phone. If I didn't have something to do, if I had like 2 hours between meetings, I can start calling people to drum up business. My life is so dialed in right now. I have to schedule calls, and I have cousins and family members that then they get mad at me because they're like, dude, you never answer the phone. And I'm like, I don't want to be the prick that tells you to get.
Yeah, we won't talk about the last 2 weeks.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be the prick, like, get with Sheena so that way I can have a phone call with you. But what I do have to do is I have to claim 15 minutes on my calendar to call my mom. I have to engineer date night. Like, I have to put it on the calendar, or else it's not going to happen. I have to engineer and wire in. And this isn't something I'm telling you guys I have to do this so that way I could work more. What I'm saying is that my priority is my family, and they go on my calendar first. And that is something that I've had to change. We all come into lab, or we come into business with an opportunity that the harder we work, the more money we make. And then we make the money and we're like, well, I'm missing my freaking family.
It feels empty. It's not a wholesome feeling. It doesn't matter how much you make or how high of a performer you are. It honestly, it ends up feeling empty, because it's kind of like, I always thought of it this way. When back in the day when we did talks and PGT, I always use this analogy. When your talks numbers were way up, your PGT numbers dropped off. Okay. Mm-hmm. PGT's way up, talks drops off. Mm-hmm. And until you learned how to bridge the two together and sell both of them together, it was a constant battle, because you got praised out of one side of someone's mouth and then crucified out of the other. Mm-hmm. So if you could bridge the two together and show how they partner and treat a patient, I kind of really relate that back to home base. You could be thriving in your professional career, mm-hmm. but then when you come home, all that excitement, all that joy from crushing it, it kind of goes empty, because you have disappointed people. And the last people in this world you should ever disappoint is home base.
Yeah, we call that the one-dimensional douchebag problem. So you'll see guys who are one-dimensional, man. They're jacked up at the gym, man. They're huge, bro. They make like protein shakes on time, every single rep done every single day, no money in their bank account, alienate their wife, kids hate them, don't believe in God, but they got biceps. You got the guy who's like rich, he works all the time, his business is completely dialed in, skinny fat, not having sex with his wife in his marriage, Kids don't know his name. He's not showing up to their games. But man, I tell you what, he's rich, right? It's hard to balance that. Like it ain't easy. It's simple, but it ain't easy. And so that's our challenge, man. Our challenge is how do we as leaders build a company that puts things like stay-at-home mom, time off and vacation, fishing trips, right?
Date
As a business
nights.
target. Like my CIO needs to fish. He needs to fish for his sanity. He likes to fish tournaments. He goes like Friday, and when he tells me, but that dude is so dialed in and so wired on the details that if he doesn't have that escape for his superpower and his attention deficit order that he has, we need him to fish. So if I'm a guy who's like, oh, he's taking another day off, and I'm not looking at the amount of brilliance that he puts down every other day of the week, I'm leading with ego and with asshole, as opposed to, hey man, what's going to make you more productive on the 40 or 50 hours that you're here? That to me, that's the purpose of it. So you work out?
A little bit.
Of course.
No, I do.
Is it a family thing? Does your wife work out with you?
Yeah, actually, I had to wait until she was done with her routine to hop in the office. Peloton's right there. She owns that thing. I don't touch it. It almost killed me once. It's not my style. I'm more into the superset cardio, bikes and treadmills.
You know who got me on the Peloton on the bike? Jason Bristol.
The guy runs to Miami and back every morning.
Dude, he's
from
nuts.
Orlando.
He would tell me, he's like, my whole goal during the pandemic, he owns a gym. He couldn't go to the gym anymore. And every day he talked about his Peloton, and he's like, dude, I pushed 700 watts. And I was making fun of him. I'm like, it's crazy. So I'm kind of cheap. So I didn't buy a Peloton. I bought an Echelon, and I have fun with my Echelon. But man, it's addictive. It's addictive because, it's just there. It's in my garage. It's like right behind his green screen, I love it. Hey, tell me this.
Bristol runs. He definitely does that.
Yeah. So as far as balance and work, with working out, do you meditate?
I'm not the best meditator because it's hard for me to get the hamster wheel to shut off. Mm-hmm. I'm weird. I'm going to tell you right now. So I have a big national park right by my house.
Yeah.
I'm more of the workout and then drive 35 minutes to the park and just take in everything around me. No radio on, nothing like that. It is me dialing myself in, verbally talking out loud, maybe voice texting to myself or in my notes, my to-do list, my priority items. It doesn't always have to be work. I'll be honest. I usually go through my personal priority items first, double check my calendar at that time before the sun's even up. Am I picking my son up today, or is my wife? Does he have a doctor's appointment? Am I taking him, or is she? To make sure that I didn't overlook anything from getting blindsided by, again, that rage of professionalism and that grind. So I don't do the sit down meditation. I'm a big driver and thinker. It's kind of always been my deal. When I had ride days, when I first became a rep, everyone's like, "Will you turn the radio on?" I was like, "No." Because that's just when I drive in silence, it's really how I zone in.
Yes. So we'll talk about kind of how this is all a journey, right? And we'll talk about how some of the benefits of meditation from a creativity standpoint, from being able to control those thoughts, and really, they call it trying to the yogis say you want to get into a witness standpoint where you're witnessing yourself and you're witnessing your thoughts. The first time I ever meditated seriously was when I got involved in Warrior, and in Warrior, meditation was mandatory. And so I was like, all right, well, I went all in with Warrior and completely changed my life. And I meditate every day because of it. But when I got into Unbeatable Mind, I now witnessed a Navy SEAL who's built this amazing leadership program. Meditation is literally central to the way that they think. And it's mainly because of arousal control. And again, it's getting to this witness place. And when I realized that there's a commonality between high performers that I didn't recognize. When I was in Warrior, I thought it was just a Warrior thing. But when I got into Unbeatable Mind, I witnessed Fortune 500, Fortune 100 CEOs, some of the most powerful men in the world. And the one thing that they could all agree on is that the only reason why they got what they got and they are who they are is because they take 10 to 20 minutes every day and they shut it all off and they go inside their own head and they plan their actions there with no distractions. It's been the biggest change in my life. So not everybody basically gets it at the beginning, but once you start it, you'll start to realize that especially after exercise, man, it's my secret sauce now, dude.
Yeah, I've been getting lectures that I need to start doing the sauna after my workouts because I'm always there so early. Take that time because it's all you have it to yourself and literally just
Close your eyes,
black
bro.
out. Yeah.
Go into
So I got a few things that I'm going to be trying, kind of go outside my comfort zone
yeah.
here shortly in the
So the
next couple
book,
weeks.
one really cool book about that and that kind of that journey is the Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. I may have recommended it to Nate too because it's my number one meditation type of book to go to. But how about family vacations, man? I've been tracking you on Facebook. You guys look like y'all do cool shit all the time because you're in Orlando. But what's it look like for y'all to get away with the family?
You could say that. Actually, I think people are starting to firmly believe that I have an RV in the parking lot at Disney. It doesn't matter if it's a birthday, Mother's Day, holiday weekend. Literally, my phone just lit up and it says your Epcot reservation has been made. My son is obsessed with anything and everything Disney. The kid's been there more times in his first week of life than I think most people get an opportunity to go in their entire lifetime. I got to go once as a kid. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. If he doesn't go twice in a weekend, it's like, what's going on? So vacation a lot because our whole family is up in Pittsburgh. We were just up there for 6 days. One of my best friends just got married. So it was nice because we got the family time. And then Nicole and I also kind of had like a weekend of our time. So it was like the perfect split, beautiful weather, got to see everyone, have a great time. Now that he's 2 years old, our number one goal, we were actually just checking it out, would love to do a cruise for Christmas this year. So Nicole and I have always had a tradition since we moved down here 7 years ago. We would go to Disney the night before we'd fly up to Pittsburgh for Christmas because they did the whole make it snow and all that stuff before COVID.
Yeah.
It was a really cool experience. It was a private event. It was at night, and I can't wait for Nico to experience it. But he loves anything and everything Disney. So our goal is to do that for Christmas this year because I think families all come to us to do just like it's like a 2 or 3 day kind of experiment a little bit. The kid sleeps anywhere and everywhere now, so I'm feeling a lot more confident. But trips they're gonna start evolving. We really haven't thought about it a lot. I know Nicole and I, we for our 10-year anniversary, we have it set 2 weeks Europe, done, already setting it aside, and just want to make sure that comes to fruition. But living in Florida, it's nice, man, because you can hop to a different island or a different beach and do an overnight in an Airbnb and kind of check out, but never really have to go through all the extensive travel plans and everything else.
Yeah. Awesome. So for me and Jenny, every month we look like right now, it's July 1st. So personally, for me, this last week has been a big week. Every year it is because this is when my daughters were born and we lost our daughters, and yesterday was the last day. So this last week was kind of a little bit different, and plus, we had a lot of stuff going on, and her and I are in a really great place. But normally on the 29th to 30th of every month, we look at the month going forward. And the first thing we do is she has 5 brothers and sisters. So there's 6 of them. And she's got moms and dads and uncles and aunts, and her family's her number one priority. So we go and we put an X on everyone's birthday. And we look at the times that we're going to go visit our family and what weekends we're going to be there. And we get all that scheduled out. And then I look at my work schedule and when I'm going to be traveling, and now I'll put circles on it. And then I put squares around the days in between. And I want to make sure that I am sleeping in my bed, hanging out with my daughter and my son and my wife more than I'm on the road. That's my kind of definition of balance. But it all starts with making sure that we don't miss a birthday. We don't miss a family party. That all that gets out there, and then we move forward. And when we do in the past, I've been able to do, like, you can still pull it off. You can still go to like San Diego on a work trip, or like when we go train for the cancer stuff, bro, that's
Yeah,
the
I was
perfect
gonna
time.
say.
Let's take the family to California. Let's hang out. At night, you got them there. We're not going to bother you. During the day, we're learning about a cancer test, right?
Yep.
When you get two kids with two parents, that shit goes out the window, because it takes both of you to keep him alive. When you go to man-to-man coverage, there's a risk that they will die. So you cannot anymore. And then you get outnumbered with four. It's like prevent defense. It's like, please don't score. God. So more of the story is dude, enjoy one while you can, and bring your family with you on work trips when you can. All right. What are you learning right now? How are you staying?
Actually, it's actually funny, but I was talking to a few of my buddies the other day, and we were like, what else can we do that doesn't consume your entire life, that isn't some kind of just telemarketing thing or anything else, but also has a real need and a purpose? I mean, you and I can both agree there's more people moving to Florida right now than imaginable ever. And a lot of those people, they've never had anyone invest into them for their future, their retirement, their kids' college, or anything else. And I was always interested in it, but I never really fully engaged. And now, with everything like you and I started talking about, and how we strategically partner with so many different individuals, getting people up and running that trust in us for our abilities, really dialed in to a little bit of the financial world, understanding a little more 401k actions, financial wealth, financial stability, um, debt relief. I mean, the things that hang with everybody out there. And it's crazy, because when you and I had breakfast, we said, what's the definition of truly vesting in people? So many companies look at vesting in a rep as, we're going to pound as much knowledge into your head for 2 weeks. We're going to set you out there with unrealistic expectations. If you don't succeed, you quit or you're fired. And then it's, oh, but we vested so much in them. You and I have a different vision. How are we setting these people up? How are we building that high level of trust? Outside of just product knowledge and professional, what else are we doing for them to build that high trust and loyalty? I mean, when you look at some of the companies I work for, some of the best training programs I've ever seen. And to me, I took that as vested, because if it wasn't for Millennium's training program, I'm going to call it out just like it is, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have got as strong as I did. I wouldn't have been able to work with so many great individuals. I still remember every individual that I ever mentored, and watching them walk across stages, winning President's Club. It took away from even when I won. I mean, it overpowered it, because it was that incredible, and that's what shifted me to wanting to get into sales leadership rather than just being a rep anymore. I'll be a sales guy through and through till the end. It doesn't matter what position you hold, what office you sit in. If you separate from the trenches, you're going to disconnect yourself from what your people need, and then you're going to let them down. So
You're making me think about a book that it's called, I don't mean to be the book guy, but I think it's called Knowing How. And it's like 20 concepts of things that you need to know to rewire your brain. And this is like Dave Ramsey and Robert Kiyosaki, coming out and basically saying, like, you own your financial knowledge. If you know why rich people get rich, you'll know how not to be poor. Education really in this aspect is power. And the more you know about it, the more you're fluent in it, the more you pick up, you see, you understand. They always talk about this. They say, if you visit a country, the best way to understand their culture is to, number one, learn the language. Number two, eat their food. And so if we think about finance as being a culture, it has a language, and it may not have something for you to eat, but if you ain't got no money, you ain't going to be eating a lot. Like, you need to be able to absorb yourself with it. So did you took a class, or you got a certification under your belt?
Yeah, actually, it was a straight 4-day class become a licensed agent in the state of Florida. Just finished the second round to go outside of the state of Florida, and then just finished securities. So now setting people up for the right plans, getting them on the right retirement plans, just understanding the whole kit and caboodle. But the best part about doing all that is not just expanding knowledge base and learning something new. I was able to correct what I thought I had, and I didn't. And that's what's terrifying, Blake. Like we talked about, I thought my retirement, my life insurance, all that was built into one thing.
Mhm.
Man, I was beyond wrong.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have got curious and saw and investigated and learned all this, when I went to retire, there was nothing there. It's scary how they position, and you think of like bad salespeople. It's not that they didn't say it or that they misled you; they just didn't say it. So I would not have been set up the way I thought I was going to be when I went to retire. I would have worked till the day I died. So getting that all aligned, now having that knowledge, even if I don't get you to do something with this, just providing that same education, just so it triggers in someone's mind to actually look into what they have and go whatever route they do, just so they don't end up in the position that not only myself, but the 8 guys that I was with when we were doing this, we're all in the exact same boat.
This is how, like, when I remember Kendall Wolf, Ross McDowell, Eddie, 3 people I used to work with at AIT. They all had similar outcomes that they wanted. It was all like, it was money related. Like when we got in and I did this with my team there, I was asking them, how much money do you want to make? Like, what do you want? What do you want your paycheck direct deposit to be after taxes? All right, let's back that up. How much do you need to make to get to that? All right, cool. Now, medically necessary testing. What do we do for you to be able to hit your bonuses so that way you can make the money that you want in this job, right? At the end of the day, you got to be able to break it down to what people are going to want. And then we take it and say, okay, so now you got that money. What are you going to do with it? You're going to save it? You're going to pay off debt? Are you going to fund a family vacation? What are you going to do? Are you going to buy a new car? All right, cool. Now let's go over to that category. All right, well, how are you going to feel when you get to that family vacation? You're going to feel fat? All right, cool. Now let's talk about your body targets. How are you going to work out every morning? What are you going to do to work out to lose your gut that you don't like? And we literally, we just moved through that. And a lot of people, they think with their wallet. Everybody thinks they want money. So it's badass that you took that and dug in, and it's called the curse of knowledge, which you just said. I thought I knew, but I didn't know. That's the curse of knowledge.
Absolutely.
I thought I knew. What I knew wasn't right. So you basically came back and rewired it. Badass, my man. So before we get into the little bit more of the detail of the targets, man, I want you to share some of your knowledge from lab sales, lab management, lab leadership. I want you to, if you don't mind, start with what made you stay? You started down this path and then decided to stay 13 years. What is it about this industry that has sucked you in?
So, I mean, it's crazy. And just recently, these past couple of weeks, the amount of people that said, wait, you got into the lab space in 2012 and you never got out. Apparently, I'm one of very few that never took a break, never walked away. At first I thought it was the fear of not knowing anything else or not being able to do anything else. It's just I figured it out. I got good at it, so I'm going to stick with it. But then I started to kind of let my eyes wander, see what else is out there. But I always kept coming back because even when I tried to talk about something else out there, I was comparing it to urine drug testing. I was comparing it to PGT. I was comparing it to molecular. One way or another, I was like, oh yeah, I could sell that. It's kind of just like
Did you
comparing a
make it out?
planetary tub to an LCM.
Did you go on the sidelines and come back?
As far as I made it was doing the financial stuff on the side for the week or two when I was, I guess, in retirement, you could call it.
Yeah.
I can't let it go, man.
I'm the same way. I was forced to, I was on a non-compete for 2 years and I thought I was out. I thought I was out, but I was coaching people that were in it. And I was like a voyeur. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've always
like lab porn. I was watching it on the side, like, what are you doing? How you doing? Let me tell you how to do it. And then I'd come back out. Nah, man, it's a sickness. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had to move around. I mean, I always want to be respectful of those who took care of me while I was with them. Never wanted to go against the hand that fed me. I don't want to burn bridges. I don't want to lose relationships. So in those interims, I did what was right. I mean, what you and I are working on now, we've sold urine drug testing through a multitude of different companies. It's really cool to work with different mindsets, different individuals that have a different thought process, different ways of selling it. But at the end of the day, it's still the same thing. That same thing is always going to be valuable to patient care. We talk about that all the time. But what more can we add? What is that next big thing? What is that next LCMS in 2010? How can we improve patient lives? How can we improve patient care through something that's new?
Yeah,
a lot we have is 5 years ahead of everything else.
Yeah, a lot of we call them code jumpers, right? Guys that jump on certain codes. They almost take. I've seen this in practice where they'll take the clinical laboratory fee schedule, and they'll go and they'll drop it in Excel. They'll sort by the highest paying code, and they'll start working their way down from the top reimbursement to the bottom, and seeing if there's some type of a clinical application that they can do through telemedicine. Like that's how these guys think, right? And so I have genuinely been a care jumper. I really look for an opportunity to be able to take something like when I was selling tox specifically because I was an addict. After I lost my daughters, I knew depression plus dependence equaled addiction. And I knew that addicts were liars. And I went and shared with doctors that would send samples to my own tox lab what I would tell them if I was still an addict. And then I would challenge them to think about who in their practice have told them similar stories and get them to try testing for tox and then convince them not to eliminate that patient from their practice, to refer them to addiction treatment. And we set up addiction networks. When I got into infectious disease testing, Nick, it was because my wife gave birth early because she had an infection. And when I started learning about it, it hit me. And I was like, dude, that's what was going on. If she'd have had PCR, my daughters would be 13 years old right now. It's a stretch to go back and say if that big of a jump, but it propelled me forward. Now I'm learning about cancer oncology, and it has a lot to do with the fact that my mom's got chordoma, and I'm worried that that thing's going to metastasize. And now I'm studying about liquid biopsies. I'm looking for the care. I want to push care forward. I feel like you've been in the same type of seat, man.
Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy. I mean, when I was at Precision with Nate, hands down, the greatest toxicology offering I've ever seen, led by one of the greatest CEOs I've ever got a chance to work for. A tremendous mentor, invested in people. Miguel was one of a kind. He knew what patient care was all about and what level it needed to go to, especially when partnering with patients, payers, physicians. I can't say enough great things about the guy. But at the end of the day, you're looking at single ancillary. It's like, what more can I do? So you almost risk losing the most superior of superior just to get more, because you want to be able to offer more. But at the end of the day, now one item is suffering because you have the ability to be a complete healthcare in the right hand.
Yeah.
But you could have stayed still and been the best at one thing. What's unfortunate for all of us that have been in the lab space, the reps that are working under single ancillaries, the fear of it doesn't matter how good of a job we do, how stable your company is, how profitable you are, we are still at the mercy of the payers.
Yes.
They change like you and I change our socks.
Yeah.
Someone who has no clue what a physician is experiencing sometimes says, okay, no more than a tier 1, no more than a tier 2.
Yeah.
What if that physician needs more than that to care for that patient? That's the only thing I don't agree with in toxicology anymore.
It's a honestly, man, like we can get into the conspiracy theory a little bit here, but I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think this is an obvious plan. You know, the lab lobbyist, a hospital lobbyist and lab lobbyists are very strong on Capitol Hill. And there's no doubt in my mind that the policies that come out, they cap innovation in a way that only explains that Quest and LabCorp and companies like that, and I love them for what they do. I collaborate with them on a daily basis. I never want to compete with those two big behemoths because they they do fill a huge gap. But the policies that come down, if Quest and LabCorp had to compete with a boutique single specialty lab, they get their asses kicked every day. Because
hands down,
I can go from 80 metabolites or analytes on an oral fluid panel to 130, and Quest is sitting at 45. And if they tried to get to 62, they'd have to revalidate every single one of their freaking pieces of equipment. And now they have the cost of that reagents, the cost of the validation, the cost of it. It ain't worth it. So what do? Oh, we passed something that says that 26 is the top. Where the hell did that come from? Look at their panel. It's literally, it's that obvious. It's the same thing with infectious disease now. What's happening with the bundled payments? The people who are at the max, they get advice from the people who got money. And it's the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rule. So we're all now subject to capped innovation. There's no reason. Like Dr. Mahar Abatar in California, this dude's got 1,400 genes plus on his liquid biopsy and like 480 on his solid tumor, cancer genes, right? The code pays for greater than 50. Anything over 50 genes gets paid the same amount of money. He's at 1,400. Every cancer on earth, this guy, it's in his library, right? He doesn't get paid for that innovation, but he's competing and has to take the same amount of money that people who only have 61 genes get.
But he's competing in the care platform,
yes,
not the reimbursement platform.
That's exactly right. Great. Good job bringing that back to that. That's where he wins. He wins in care 10 out of 10 times. 10 out of 10 times. All right. So what's your best advice you can give to a sales rep coming right out of college, coming from medical device or from pharma, and they decide to come into lab? What's your best advice?
Truthfully, 30, 60, 90, 120, 6 months, 1 year plans, throw them all in the garbage. And I'm not even being funny when I say that. The lab space is nothing more. I'm going to age myself here. Go back to Lincoln Logs. All right. It's building blocks. Every single day is a new day in the lab space. I worked with one of the best young ladies who never accepted anything as good enough because she said, I could wake up tomorrow and it can all be gone. So she worked every day to double her business because everything she currently had could be gone. So my best advice to anyone coming into this space, whether you're out of college, been in pharma, making the transition, one, don't ever think you know everything, no matter what you read. Be coachable, take your time, follow the training modules or the process that your company has laid out for you. It's been proven, it's been quantified, it works. Once you're out of training, take every day one step at a time. Don't focus on the whales. Don't focus on the big picture or what number you were assigned to by the end of the year. If you focus on doing the same thing every day, focus on daily average, not 5,000 or 10,000, it will incrementally grow. And how you do that is activity, quantifying opportunity, and then staying true to your word. You can go out and sell as many people as you want. Once you have that bond, I'm not going to say commitment. Once you have that bond and that trust with an office, don't let them down at that point. Stay there with them. Make sure that it comes to fruition. Make sure you're asking those loyalty questions. Understand how and where the results are making the biggest clinical impact to patients. Has patient care changed? Yes. How? Don't be afraid to ask. That's building that rapport. But every single day is one day at a time. And finally, it's very simple. Don't go home until you do at least one thing every day that moves your territory forward. Whether it's collecting a sample, fixing missing billing, making one last cold call.
Day in and day out. So what you made me think of is like one moment, one day, one life. Something else the yogis and I learned from Unbeatable Mind. is if you had the focus and attention, one day can literally be one life, and to appreciate the day as such. So what's your, put yourself back into the I'm say close your eyes and meditate with me. Put yourself back into the days when you were a sales rep and you were calling on clinics day in and day out. What was your perfect day? Where did you have the best results? What were you doing?
Perfect day was usually if I had a really productive Friday the week before. Fridays were my cold call day. Everyone's guard was down. Everyone's in a good mood. Weekend's coming. I just want to chit chat. Try and stack my calendar as heavy as I could the following week. If I woke up Monday morning and I had a breakfast and a lunch every single day with a 5-10 minute follow-up, maybe mid-afternoon or a sidebar with a doctor, if I looked at my calendar and that was my week, I already won, because I knew my efforts from the previous week were going to come to fruition this week, because there's no way I wasn't walking out of 10 meetings in a week with at least 3 to 4 new accounts. And I did that every single week. To add to perfect, it's not so much as getting a signature or even getting that first sample. It's having, my goal every week was to have at least 2 doctors say, I'm glad I gave you the time. This is going to be a drastic change to my patients. It's going to improve the quality of communication between us. This is going to be great, and I can't wait for the future.
All right. So
that was the biggest win.
That was 2012, 13, 14,
15.
15. What behaviors were you able to get away with then that don't exist now? You know, like as things have existed, like what are some of the, take yourself then now, and you know what you know, but like how do you do it in today's world with what's going on post COVID?
So what's kind of crazy is I came into this space right after the heydays where pretty much anything was able to fly. The whole cup, hey, how much money do you want to make? Like the old jokes, like liquid gold, yada, yada. Ever since I came into this space, you kind of had to be value-based. You had to be better. You had to take care of patients. You had to be compliant. You had to be ethical. I've never been in a situation, never worked for a lab. We never did any kind of models. There was never anything in it for the doctors except patient care. What I have noticed has been the biggest change is how you communicate. They've all heard the same thing 5 million times. It is simply anticipating what they're going to say and being one step ahead of them. Every doctor knows when you walk into an office, you have an agenda, and so do they. You're going to sell me. I'm supposed to say yes or no. How do you take them off of that? How do you redirect them to a different conversation? And that's by asking questions, not showing up and throwing up. Those questions are then aligning you with the physician. You want to know just as much about their practice as they do, because for once you can walk in and say, Doc, what do you actually want to hear from a laboratory? What do you not want to be told? Because that is what kills reps. That's what kills culture, is this is what we have. This is what you have to sell. Either do it or get out.
Yeah. It's the number one thing that every new rep wants. Like what you just said is should be scripture, right? Every new rep wants to be told what to say, and they get super frustrated. Like I make new reps do homework where they have to write down. I can give you a textbook. I swear to God, dude, I can give you the book. I can give you the song, chapter, the verse of exactly what to say. And it's going to mean dick when you find out that that doctor is worried about going to soccer practice and doesn't want to work long hours anymore. They have enough money. The only thing they want is to figure out efficiency. So you go in and talk about clinical because they're a doctor and they just want to figure out workflow. Like you need to ask questions and find out what's important to them and then connect with their humanity with humility in order to be able to drive the actual relationship.
I mean, Blake, it's so funny. Everyone wants to go in and say, I'm a lab. This is what we do. That's how everyone starts. Flip the script. Walk in and say, what's the workflow look like in your office?
What do you guys
do? How many patients a day are you making a clinical decision on based off a diagnostic test? How much time does that take? I can't tell you how many times. I mean, I'm telling you, I had some of the most badass reps in my previous company. They would go in and everything was about the exchange of value and time. I mean, they nailed it. Let me give your staff back this much time a week. That time back will give you this result. This result will improve quality of communication when that patient is with you in that exam room. They're happy. They tell 3 people, those 3 people tell 9, 12. All of a sudden, you're growing. You have the respect of the office. The workflow is in place. You're an aligned partner. You're not a rep telling them to do something and they're getting nothing for it. That's when the game really started to change, when you do the exchange of time for value.
What are the minimums right now you put on a new rep? I mean, you kind of covered your targets personally back in the day was 2 new accounts. Let's say you hire a new sales rep for your new laboratory that you're going to be chief sales officer of. What's your minimum for a rep?
I don't look at new accounts anymore, because what is a new account? Signatures are signatures. That physician is never going to experience the value of our testing by signing a piece of paper. What we look at as far as expectations, what we look at for that 2 to 5 year landscape, so we can all keep doing what we love to do every single day. It's not about what pocket's going to get fatter or anything like that. It is the stabilization and the consistent growth, but also the productivity. You and I know that you need X amount of samples on a plate to run it, or else you have a whole bunch of waste. Okay. So with molecular UTI, being able to do 2.5 samples a day, no questions asked. A new rep up and coming, we may be able to adjust it by a half to 1 sample a day, depending on the territory, depending on the quality of paper. Also reimbursements. I mean, there's some territories where 20 samples can be just as profitable as 150 in another, just throwing out numbers. So, I mean, everything is adjustable. No 2 people are identical. No 2 expectations are going to be identical. But when you look at consistency is all we really all care about. And with that consistency, that means that we are impacting as many patient lives as possible, and we're getting out there the way we should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm hearing you say is that there's an ideal client that exists in the wilderness, and our sales rep has got to go and find that ideal client that values our testing and is awoken to the possibility of improving patient care with our testing. And that there needs to be a minimum amount of patients that ideal client can send, because if the laboratory doesn't make any money, the laboratory doesn't have a mission. Now, a lot of people are afraid to talk about profit and talk about money because they are fearful of the volume and the value type of where that goes. Oh, you can't say because of ECRO. You can't say. It's like, dude, I'm running a business, and my business is about healing patients. Like, that's the purpose of my business. But I will go out of business if I'm not getting paid on the samples that are coming in, and if I'm not tracking missing information. I'm gonna go out of business.
Just like the physicians we work with. Go out of business. Oh, everyone can be self-pay, and hey, don't worry about paying it. Get me next time. You're not going to be in business either.
No, you have to have.
You can do it compliantly and ethically. There's no reason for a $10,000 bill for a urine drug test or a $50,000 bill for a specific oncology test. That's inhumane. And it's not ethical. There's a way to do it. There's a compliant way to do it where you're not basically breaking the bank on anyone in any sort of way.
Yeah. We have to, as sales leaders, we've got to be able to drive behavior, and we need our sales team to understand the compliance inside of lab sales, which is new to people who come from outside of it. So I'm putting you on the spot. You and I have not talked about a lot of this stuff because we jumped into architecture and philosophy, and you've been on more software calls with me than we've talked about like sales philosophy. So
yeah, I've seen more flow charts in the last 48 hours than I've seen in the last 10 years.
We're building big shit, man. And if you can't do that without a plan. So yeah, the blueprint, right? And you've actually seen more than I've ever released this early in a relationship too. I normally hold some of that stuff back. So anyway, so give me an idea of flow on like what are some of the things new sales reps out there need to be worried about from a compliance standpoint? Where are some of the places that they can let either greed or ignorance get them in trouble inside of the lab space?
I mean, that answer is endless. If I tell everyone, if something makes you feel uncomfortable, you walk away from it. I would never terminate a sales rep. I would never even reprimand, write up, or anything. If you look at me and said, Nick, Doc asked me what's in it for me. I easily could have said, hey, I'll give you $10 on the side, but you didn't. And you came and said, hey, Doc wanted $10 per rec. I'd be proud of you. Okay. There's so many different ways. I mean, like we've seen it all. People do these different models. Oh, I have part ownership. Well, if your samples stop going to that lab, your dividends still pay out? No. So you really don't have ownership. You're basically just getting paid a commission. Okay. I mean, there's so many examples. I mean, people would take doctors out to dinner and they don't expense it. Everything has to be reported. Okay. It's the smallest things. You buy someone a birthday card, that's okay, but you better expense it towards that physician's MPI number. It's the little things. It's being in an office, and in certain states, you can't have technicians. Okay.
Yep.
Well, hey, I'm just training. Well, training is one day for a specific amount of time. When it becomes routine with set days and set times, you're actually now in violation. You're actually a collector without the title. So it's people getting caught up in, I'm going to make this easy on myself, or I'm going to find the easy road to get it done, rather than having that challenging conversation and educating why they can't. I mean, it's easy. Like, you're sitting here and you're talking to an individual. I don't wake up every day and say, okay, how am I going to make my life harder? How many times can I say no to a doctor today whenever they ask for things? Nobody wakes up and starts their day that way. But we can talk and have a good conversation and come up with a solution together that's both compliant and ethical, that gets nobody in harm's way. That's the best fit for all parties.
You just made me think inside of the CRM, i.e., we need to focus on that compliance module and have an easy way for sales reps at the point of sale to be able to document those things. Obviously, an expense tracker will take care of it, but if there's a way to be able to even put the notes on the side, so that way they can go back and look at it and track those types of things, because they'll fall off.
I have it written out.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. So what other, any other, like, besides the expense piece and the deals and the compensation, anything that keeps you up at night? Like, when you think about sales reps out in the field working for you, you feeling, you're like, man, I hope they're not fill in the blank.
I hope they're not creating homegrown marketing materials. Unless it's approved by legal, don't send it. And that is the most unintentional one. People are so proud and taking so much pride in a new opportunity. They want to impress everyone they talk to as much as possible. Unfortunately, one word could put you in hot water. They can guarantee, or they can say, this will change this, or this is the specific medication for this patient. No, these are all guidelines. So it's very simple pieces like that. I hate email. You know me, I won't email you. You email me, I'm calling you. So
it's the thing I just wrote down was version control. And it's what a lot of laboratories don't understand how to do. And they end up, it ends up being that there are simple, obvious pathways to be able to control these that other industries have, that people just, they don't know yet. They don't realize that, look, man, you're going to be in this business for 6, 7, 8 years. You're going to put a brochure out. That brochure is going to be written possibly incorrectly, or you're going to want to improve it. Now you have to get a way to be able to get that out of circulation. You're going to email something out to a group of people. They're going to save it on their home screen. They're going to use it for 3 years. One day you're going to walk in and be like, dude, you're still using this? Dude, we took this out of circulation. This language we can't use anymore. Like, you've got to have updating requisition forms. Holy moly. How hard is that? You go out and everybody's all nice and organized and they kit out every single one of their, and you advance your panel, or you change something, or you go through a billing audit. Oh, life ends then. I now have to take out something and make sure that I have language on there specific, so that way Blue Cross Blue Shield doesn't kick us out of network. Now you've got 150 offices and you have to ask them to destroy requisition forms. Like, these are logistical problems that have to happen.
I mean, and in full transparency, I'm a firm believer that something that happens out of compliance, it's a 90-10 split. 90% of it's unintentional, 10% of it's intentional. The intentional stuff is people that created these behaviors and habits years ago, and that's the only way they know how to sell. The unintentional ones come from those value-based reps. They come from those people that are looking to do the right thing. They just got a few things misplaced when they're trying to get the words out and put it out there. That's why I really don't like, um, full transparency. I don't really like working with people that come from that world because
Uh-huh.
old habits, they don't die.
Yeah.
At some
No, they get
capacity,
hidden. They just get hidden. I mean, they really do. They get
it's a
hidden.
smoke screen until it's needed.
Yeah.
I would rather. That's why. I mean, you look at LabCorp Quest reps. Everything's a strong arm approach. Then you look at the Millennium guys. You look at the Precision guys and girls. They don't have all the strong arm approaches of LabCorp Quest or anything else. I mean, that's 1% of their business is toxicology. They're out there every day fighting for every single sample. They're actually earning each and every one. They're not walking in saying, if you don't start sending all your Blue Cross Blue Shield of Florida to us, you're going to get kicked out of network or you're going to start getting letters.
Yeah.
No, they're all solution-based individuals. They're out there grinding and killing it, and people trust them. That's why they are who they are today.
Yeah. All right. We're going to transition outside of that piece. We're going to go back to you. All right. I want to hear from you. You work out. You're a fit man. All right. Have you ever heard of the statement pay to play? No. All right. So we do 90-day challenges in my world where we know on the journey to the 90-day challenge, we are going to become the man that we need to become. And so we look at something 90 days from now, and we're looking at 90 days from today. You can't do this today, but it's something you want to do. And it could be a lifting number. I don't want you to injure yourself. It could be a marathon. You may not want to run that far. It could be a half Ironman. You may not want to swim. Like, it's got to be right for you. But you come up with basically where you want to be in 90 days. And it's a big ass audacious goal. And then we work our asses off. We got 13 weeks to get there. And every week we move the needle closer to the outcome of that. So when you think about where you are right now inside of your body, what's one thing that you would like to do in the next 90 days? And honestly, bro, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be the path that you're on right now.
I mean, the next 90 days, it's like I said, this isn't another job. I mean, this is the opportunity. I mean, it's literally the perfect fit. Like when Chris introduced the two of us together, he's like, I found the perfect mold. How we're taking everything, we're putting it in the individuals, and then we're putting them out there basically as a 10-year rep through core. I want to take everything I know. For once, it is 100% focused on investing it back in individuals. I would love to see at least 5-10 individuals in the next 90 days be placed and crush it right out of the gate.
Okay,
Nothing
so you're
would make
talking,
me happier.
you're giving a really good business target right now. All right. So
Yeah,
since you jumped from
I
body
went
to
that way
business,
first.
I'll capture that for you. I'm going to put, and you said 5 to 10. We talk about being meaningful and specific. So I want the numbers to have meaning, and I need them to be specifically dialed in. So we don't do ranges, we do a specific. So do you want 5 or 10 sales reps placed in 90 days?
I want to see 5 placed and with the proper leading indicators.
Okay. So you personally want to have 5 salespeople placed in the next 90 days.
Correct.
All right. I like that. Okay. 5 salespeople placed. All right.
And the reason I only say 5 was I don't want to cut ourselves short.
Mm-hmm.
Those people, they still need to come all the way up and through. I mean, they're going to have weeks. So literally, if we're looking at 90 days, that's maybe 30 to run.
No, we have a 30-day virtual program. We have a 60-day actually program that way. I mean, we get 5 people in this week. It's going to take them 90 days to get through. I would be willing to say that you get 5 people to come in the next month, then that's good, because we still have to coach and train them through the entire process, and we're building as we go. So I'm down.
And then make sure we also have the right fit for them within one of our partners.
That's right. So I like it. That's good. And you got some meaning behind it, and we know that number matters, and you explained it. Check all the boxes for me. Would you like to go through family, spirituality, meditation, my friend, or your body next?
All right, you drive a tough bargain. All right, we'll go body, family, spiritual.
Okay, so let's go body next. All right. I mean,
All
it
right,
could.
so I don't run, so there's no marathons coming up. Um, the my big goal is actually by November. I can't do it in 90 because the shows aren't until November. But I'm looking to complete my first two NCP shows here in November.
What's an NCP?
It's for men's physique. So you have IFBB, which is all your pro. NCP is your up and coming, is the way I look at it. And then you have Universe Challenge. Actually, two of my friends are in it right now. Um, so it would be for men's physique and then classic physique. So it's not the guys that literally are just so massive, but it's more about the full dial in, the critiquing. It's not about benching 5,000 pounds. It's literally identifying and fine tuning every little bit. I mean, I've worked out for years. Became a really cool challenge to me. The guys I work out with are all into it. They actually have a lot of fun. It's an easy way to push yourself, and we all like to see results.
Have
So
you
you can.
have you applied? Have you actually paid for the entry fee and everything yet?
Oh no, you do that day before.
You don't do it ahead of time.
No,
There's not
because
like a way.
a lot of these shift. They may shift locations or to a different weekend.
Uh-huh.
Usually prep starts about 6 to 8 weeks out. That's where you can do pre-registry. I mean, in Florida, they're nonstop. That's
Okay.
just when I feel that I'll most likely
So
be ready.
it's important to me that we figure out a way to declare this, and the pay to play portion of this is you pay the entry fee, you set it up, you declare it on Facebook, you call your mama, you call your daddy, you invite them to the fucking show. You set up like you said, you take before pictures and then the after pictures of the show. And you put so much leverage on yourself because you have basically committed to this completely that there is no doubt that when you show up on stage, you are going to be at your best.
And that's why nothing happened this summer because I was like, I'm not doing it unless I know I could win.
Well,
so yeah, OCD kicked in again.
Challenge that part unless you know you can win, because you win by getting on stage being at your best.
Yeah.
Right. So just as you think through this, that way it's enjoyable and it's fulfilling. You got to be a full-time dad. You got to be a full-time chief sales officer. You got to be full-time control over your thoughts and your emotions, and your body is the vessel that's going to get you there. Right. So your job isn't to win. Your job is to be an amazing father and husband and to lead the business. This is fuel for you to just be a badass. Right. So
I'll be honest, it literally it leads my discipline on a daily basis.
It will.
I mean, think about it. You have a specific time you got to work out. You have specific eating. You have a specific diet. All that is structure, and then everything else circulates in around it. It maps out from the time my eyes open till the time they close.
All right, so I'm expecting to come to a show in November with Chris Roberts side by side with me. We're gonna get him squatting soon, so that way his legs make it there. I'm sorry, Chris. Why am I throwing shade at Chris's legs, dude? That wasn't cool. You know what I mean? Blake, asshole. All right, so that's body. All right, we're gonna be doing a fitness challenge. I'm down with it. I think we got it. This is the declaration enough. Okay, being meditation, spirituality. You want to give meditation a try over the next 90 days?
I will. I mean, honestly, just with everything that's gone on, with the excitement of this, I feel like a lot of the anxiety will go away as we get rolling, and I think that'll help through it as well.
What do you think about Headspace? Have you ever heard of Headspace as an app?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
So Headspace, you can download it. So I got started, and they have some meditation challenges on there. Super easy to get in that. Do one. 3 minutes. You don't have to start with 20. I couldn't do 20 for a long time, dude. My ADD would kick in. I'd get anxious. I'd get up and move. It would frustrate the hell out of me. I had to try.
You actually have me sitting at my desk for almost an hour now. That's almost impossible. I'm surprised I'm not on that bike behind me.
I normally take calls on my bike. All right. So try meditation over the next 90 days. The target is we do an event out of this too. All right. So the outcome of the meditation, right? Every day after your meditation, because you are OCD, we want to plan this to make it cool. A meditation journal. All right. Buy a new book, Nick, a new book, a new pen for you to capture this stage of your life. And you'll have like every day you meditate for 3 to 5 days. When you open your eyes from your meditation, your journal's right there at your right knee. You pick it up and you write down whatever the thoughts were and just capture it because it's such a cool transition for you. You're saying right now, you told me before the podcast, is it cheesy to say that the last 13 years has led to this exact moment? And I say no, but it'd be a misery to miss it. So it's a memoir so you can remember it. So just attach it. And then you have like 90 days that you can share with your kids. You know what I mean? Like that's what's fucking cool about it. So tie it to something that matters like that. And then you'll pull it through. That's the whole point of the challenges. If you like that, I can write it down.
I'm with it.
Meditation journal. You love that?
Yep.
All right. And now
I'll stop my driving and thinking.
No, keep doing that because it works for you. This is just going to be after all this is, dude, it could literally be between 2 phone calls with a sales rep that you just want to separate out the day and decompress. Go on the Headspace app, 3-5 minutes, close your eyes, listen to that British dude talk, open your eyes, take your journal, write down your thoughts, figure it out, close the book. You got 90 days of where your head was in 2022 when you started at the Core Academy. All right. And then balance. All right. You guys do Disney. We talked about that. You got family. You shared some other things with me that's yours to share. What are you thinking? What's a good target for you in 90 days for you and the family to do that's badass? You and the wife to do that's badass.
Oh no, we've been tossing a lot around lately. I don't know. Like I told you, the big thing that like we were really looking at was doing that Christmas cruise with Nico.
That's an awesome thing. I mean, the Christmas
It's
cruise,
a little bit more than 90 days, but
it is. So some of the things that I've done for my wife in the past is I've taken a picture of her and my daughter, who's kind of creepy. Every they were sleeping, they just sleeping, so every time they were sleeping, I'd go by and take a picture of it and I'd write a love note about it. And I gave her like a book of that, or I made a book of that for her. I've had to save money for us to go on a vacation before. So that ended up being my business target and my balance target.
yeah, that's kind of where I was throwing it.
We did partner yoga together for 90 days. And she doesn't know that my 90 days challenge is to do partner yoga with you. It's just like, hey, baby, you want to do a 90-day yoga challenge? And she was like, yeah. I'm like, cool. Every day, let's do yoga. And we started having more sex and it was awesome. So like this thing of spending time and connecting intimately helped me feel better about myself. It brought us closer together. Our marriage got better because of it. Like that's the point of it is how can you what's the challenge inside of your marriage and inside of your family that you can do that would make everything better? And dude, this is vulnerable shit you're sharing on a podcast, your first day at work. I am not going to dig much further than I just did, but that's the purpose of this is I may have to fix something. I may have to find something. I may have to forge something, but there's something there that I can work on in the next 90 days. And at the end of it, it'd be amazing.
I mean, honestly, if you want to put it that way, I mean, Nicole was, thank God I was able to allow her to, or we were able to work it out. I don't want to say the word allow, that sounds stupid, but her to stay home with Nico for 2 years. She's an incredible teacher. I mean, we talked about that. She's taught pre-K, kindergarten, second grade, and now she's going back in August to the second grade. So in 90 days, I want to have that full balance. Like we were talking about calendar calls. I want to make sure that, and this is something we started working on just the last couple of weeks. We actually finally started syncing a calendar because for the last several years, and this is a big challenge for me. So we could actually use this. Okay. I would know everywhere I had to travel. My bad habit was, hey, oh yeah, I got to go to Texas tomorrow. I'll be back Thursday. or whatever it is, where now everything is in a week or two advance. Everything is looked at. So then when I'm home, I'm husband, I'm dad. When it's work hours, I'm work.
Mhm.
I need to make sure that they all don't keep stacking on top of one another, because I've done that a lot recently and things have been amazing.
How do you measure that? What's going to be your process to measure that particular thing that you just said?
When I'm playing with my son, I'm not emailing or texting behind his head.
Okay.
um,
Love it.
I mean, it's the littlest things.
So
Like, full respect,
could you
she's
put your
used to
cell
it.
phone, could you put your cell phone in a box at a certain time?
I mean, I could, but everyone in my family does respect emergencies though. If somebody sends me a text, hey, I know you're probably busy, I really need to talk to you right now, that's okay. It's consistent, like, hey, can you email me this, or hey, I need this. I mean, you got to remember, my wife is used to my phone probably getting 300 emails, 80 phone calls, and 140 text messages a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
That's no exaggeration.
Yeah.
It's going to be different now because we have everything so organized. Everything is streamlined. We have everything set. That balance is going to come into play naturally, in my mind. And if it doesn't, then we have a little bit of a challenge, because then we critique it.
So this is something that I want you to think about. The universe is going to download something into your heart and your soul about the thing that you need to work on here, and the way to be able to measure it and be committed to it. It's okay to come into, like, we call this the pit. It's okay for you to come into the pit and look at, the body target, the being target, the balance target, the business target, and walk away and say, man, I just don't know right now. Right. It's okay. This is going to end up being something that you're going to have a moment at a barbecue, or you're going to have a moment at Disney, or you're going to see something, or your wife is going to say something. You're going to be like, oh, that's it. That's the thing that I could work on the next 90 days and surprise her with, and that's the whole, this whole point is the life that we want. It's looking about where you are right now, the facts of your current life, the feelings that are attached to that life. Where do you want to go, and what's standing in your way? And then we develop this challenge to be able to get you to blow past those things. And this is the thing to me that it's missing in corporate America, Nick. It's getting on the same page with your coworkers and figuring out, honestly, man, like with your clients. Like, imagine having this conversation with a doctor.
Well, because you better be ready, because I'm going to flip this and drill it in on you too next week. So, because if you're holding me, it's coming right back at you.
I'm down. Honestly, man, like, I'm down and I love it. Like, that's what Coach Derek, our accountability coach, is what he's for. Is we do these 90-day challenges and we hold each other accountable, and we're supposed to. So challenge accepted, my friend. Any closing comments for this episode of Lab Results with Blake and Nick?
I mean, honestly, I'm really looking forward to this next 90 days, this ramp up, the getting everything going. I mean, we have 50 different projects going on right now. I can't wait to tie a bow on these, streamline it all in, get the funnel going, and really start seeing a ton of success come from the people that are relying on us. I mean, the reach out has been tremendous already. The amount of people looking to partner with us that have been working as hard as they can, and it's at no one's fault. They're just not where they want to be yet. So we're going to get them there through our strategic plan that we have. So I think the final words just are, let's touch back in 90 days and let's talk about some really exciting shit.
It's always a before picture, man, when you start a challenge. That's what's great about it. Yes, let's talk about some exciting shit. All right, guys, look, man, like us, tag us, share us. Write to us, DM us, reach out to us if you're interested in any of the programs that we've talked about briefly. More to come. Funnels being released. We're going to be putting some content out specifically around Marcus Aurelius. I'm dropping that actually on our Audible podcast daily, and linking that to Lab Life. Working through Pitch Anything on Oren Claft. Working through 90 for businesses. With the book Traction and Gina Wickman. We're producing things that are going to matter to the partners that work with us, and to the students and the lab professionals that come through here. And when I say matter to them, I mean make a movement and a meaning in their life. We'll catch you next time. You've been listening to Lab Results with Blake, and I'm your host, Blake Bork, with a closing message. Our whole target with this podcast is to positively impact the lives of 10,000 sales reps. And the best way we know how to do that is going to be by looking at the share button. The reason why is that's basically you telling us that we've done a good job impacting your life positively. And so you're now giving permission to share that message to your crew. So smash the share button. Let us know that we're doing a good job. Give us a like. That's great too. Subscribe. Absolutely. But the best thing that we can say is by sharing, greatness is contagious. And none of us woke up this morning to be average. We all woke up to be great. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.